Hi, you guys. I'm Richie, and I'm going to start today by taking you guys back about 5 years to 2010. You guys remember 2010? Everyone in this town was kind of poor still, so that was cool. It still rained on occasion, and the food scene here was very, very different then. It was full of food carts and pop-ups and food trucks, and it was very lively and vibrant. It was a really fun time to be involved in food. And at the time, I was a sous chef of one of the best restaurants in the city. I had made my name as line cook through my writing, and things were going okay for me. And I decided that I wanted to be a part of that food scene and go out on my own and start my own pop-up by doing ramen. And so I did so, and I had my first event, and I'm going to spare you all the bloody details, but let's just say it didn't go very well, and a lot of people left that pop-up very dissatisfied. So it's at this time in my life in 2010 when I have a good paying job, I have a newborn son who's 2 months old, and I probably just step back and say, you know what, we tried to do this pop-up, try to do something new and different, but why don't we just play it safe, stay with your job, it was a good try. But instead, I dove in head first with just about $5,000 in the bank account, the newborn baby, started working 18-hour days, and then staying up all night, rocking him to sleep as he cried. Lots of sleepless nights, lots of fear in my heart, but I felt really good about what I was doing. It would have been a good time to quit, but we kept going, and I embarked on the hardest year of my life, cooking-wise. So you fast forward again to 2012, and Hapa Ramen is actually starting to do okay now. And we've emerged out of this really hard time, and I have one of the best staffs that I could ever ask for. And our stand at the Ferry Building is doing really well. It seems like people like it. We have a huge line every day, despite what people said on Yelp about us. And we started doing our pop-up, and that's become very popular, and our food is really moving forward in a positive direction. Things aren't perfect, but they're going pretty good. And around this time, we signed a lease on a restaurant space just right down the street on Fillmore next to State Bird Provisions. And we really feel like we're about to take the next step for Hapa Ramen. And then towards the end of the year, things start to go a little sideways. My sous chef gets a really bad injury in her shoulder from repetitive stress from working for me, and she can't work anymore. And the build out on our restaurant takes much longer than expected, and we start to run out of money and have to abandon the project altogether. And then, at the very end of the year, our landlord at our commercial kitchen doubles our rent on us with almost no warning at all, and we're forced to move into a hotel kitchen in the Tenderloin in a basement that floods almost every single day. And also share it with a tenant who runs a food truck, and they steal from us all the time. It was the darkest time of Hapa Ramen. And again, it's one of these times where we could have said like, well, we had a really good run and we fed a lot of people and we had a lot of fun, but maybe it's time to take a step back and try something new, move on to the next project. But instead we kept on going, put our heads down, and we got through that second dark period. And we emerged around 2014 with a whole new staff and yet making better food than we've ever made before. We got out of that dirty hotel kitchen in the basement, and we started to try to move on and do new things with our food at our pop-ups. We made tacos one time, and people really liked it. We should just open a taqueria in hindsight. And so in 2014, when things are starting to get better, we've come out of this really hard period, I meet an investor who comes along and says, hey, I want to get involved with you. I'm going to come in, and we're going to partner up and get a restaurant opened, and eventually we'll open 10 of these restaurants. We'll make a business deal, you sell me the company, and 5 years down the road, everyone will be winning. And I'm thinking like, what could be better than this? So we work hard, we eventually get this restaurant open, and by the end of 2014, things are going well. The restaurant opening is very difficult, if any of you are in restaurants, you might know. Lots of sleepless nights again, but it was never as hard as that first time in 2010 or that second time in 2012. Things are definitely going better now. And you can see that there are big bright spots. People are starting to get our food, and we're reaching more and more people every day. And then some cracks start to show. We do our first profit and loss report, and my investor, after 1 month, can't believe that we haven't made money yet, which in restaurants would be, if you can make money in the first month, you did a really good job. They are looking at our Yelp scores, and they can't believe that people aren't giving us better Yelps. And they want to change our menu based on what people are saying. Change the prices, change the menu, change the ingredients. These are things that I've never let define me. Making a ton of money, getting good Yelp scores. And I'm starting to feel like maybe I didn't partner up with the right people. And I tell my mom about it, because that's what you do when you're really upset about something. So my mom sends me a text message, and it said, just remember, nobody owns you. And so I took that in my heart, and I fought back against my investor, and a week later, I had been pushed out of the company. The thing I'd worked on for 5 years was gone. So now you might say, this would be a good time to tuck your tail between your legs, move on to the next thing. That was a sad thing that happened, but it happened and it's time to move on. Well, fuck that. It's not the way I do things. Without having all of these really hard times in your life, if you're just sailing along and you're on this plateau and you're saying like, life is pretty good, you never get pushed into making things better for yourself or finding a better quality of life for yourself. And that's where I'm at now. Basically lost everything and have to start over from scratch. I have 2 kids now, but no business to move on to. I'm trying to find the next thing. But it feels exciting. It feels invigorating. There's a chance here to do something new and do something better than we ever did with Hapa before. And it's a chance to do things completely my way, instead of having to do it according to what someone thinks we should do based on a Yelp score. And that's a very exciting thing. But the way we get there, you might say, so you're able to bounce back, and that's good for you, Richie, but I'm not as resilient as that, or I'm not as driven as you are. And I can tell you that being driven has nothing to do with it, because I love to sit on the couch and play PlayStation and eat pizza while dishes pile up in the sink as much as the next guy. What it comes down to is being stubborn and just not being willing to give in and doing things your own way. And really, in the words of one of my favorite motivational speakers, one of the great minds of our time, Darth Vader, you have to embrace the dark side. And you have to embrace those dark times in your life and not let them define you so you can eventually move on to your better way of life. Thanks.